You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. This is your host, Tim Link, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. Our wonderful guest is a friend of the show, and we're so excited for her latest book. We've got Jennifer Holland on. Jennifer's going to be talking to us about the latest book, Unlikely Friendships, the dog's version. It's 37 stories of canine compassion and courage. So we're always excited. We always love all of our animals, but we know dogs have a special, special place in all of our hearts. So we're going to be excited to talk to Jennifer a little bit about that. So everybody hang tight, and we'll come back right after these commercial breaks. You're listening to Animal Rights Show on Pet Life Radio.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Are you confused by the overwhelming number of supplements for your dog? Developed by a veterinarian, Dr. Baker's all-natural Canine System Saver is designed to address many of the common problems your dog faces today, including allergies, inflammatory diseases, arthritis, hip dysplasia, geriatric problems, and more. Restore and maintain your dog's health with Dr. Baker's all-natural Canine System Saver. Order 2 bottles today and receive 20% off plus free shipping. Visit CanineSystemSaver.com.
To get this special offer, enter coupon code RS20 at checkout.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. It's your wonderful host, Tim Link, and I'm so excited to be here and talk to our good friend, author extraordinaire, wonderful publisher, New York Times best-selling series author, Jennifer Holland. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. That was quite an introduction. I feel very special.
Well, you are very special, and we're so glad to talk to you. It's been a little while since we spoke to you last, and we're so grateful to be put in this wonderful tour date schedule. My goodness, if you folks out there haven't noticed, Jennifer is everywhere from Charlotte to Raleigh to Chicago to Omaha to Maryland to Houston. She's going to be somewhere all over the place, and you may have a chance to meet up with her. So I'll be interested to find out what's it like to take a whirlwind tour like that.
It is, they keep me busy. Workman is really wonderful about getting me out there to promote the book, and I get to visit with a lot of kids, which is really, really fun because they just are such a terrific audience, non-judgmental and just excited about animal pictures and great to talk to. So it's a good time.
There you go. Unjudgmental, just like our animals, right?
Exactly.
You can hear mine barking, saying, "What are you still doing in there? Get out of here, let's play." Well, Jennifer, everybody knows your wonderful, wonderful books, the picture books, and all the wonderful stories that go behind them, starting with Unlikely Friendships, and then Unlikely Loves, Unlikely Heroes, and now the dog's version. Tell us, for those that have been under a rock for a while, tell us a little bit about sort of the concept of the books, and how do you go about choosing all these wonderful stories?
Yeah, sure. Well, so it all started back around 2010, I think. And I was writing for National Geographic and doing a lot of science writing. But on the side, I have to admit, I am one of those people that loves sending and receiving all the cute animal pictures and videos and all that great stuff that fills up the inbox and distracts us from our work. So one of the things that fascinated me was, all these fun pictures of animals together that you wouldn't expect to see together. Sometimes predator and prey, but often just, 2 different species kind of cuddling up, showing some sort of friendship, or for lack of a better word. And initially I thought these were probably mostly set up pictures, and it really didn't strike me that this would be something that was actually a phenomenon with animals, that they really have this willingness to cross species boundaries and to really be compassionate to other kinds of animals. But the more I researched it, the more I found there are plenty of cases of that. And so the first book was really the beginning of gathering some of these stories and researching them, and it just went from there. There were so many good ones. I went on to Loves and then Heroes, kind of getting into a slightly different theme with animals doing really courageous things throughout the animal kingdom. And then Dogs, of course. Dogs are so great about all of this. They just have that warmth and empathy that we seek in our companions. And so I just wanted to put dog stories together for all the dog lovers out there. So that's what this book is about.
Yeah, and you've done a great job of it. I mean, I could not imagine, for a book like this, obviously it's the fourth book, correct? That's out there.
Yes, that's right.
And of course, you've got the series out there, and everybody can watch the videos and the TV shows, etc. But now, after all this time and all the excitement, when you put a call out there to the masses and say, okay, send me your nice, wonderful, unlikely friendships with dogs and all their community, how many thousands upon thousands of these do you get across your desk?
Gosh, I wish it were that easy. Honestly, after the first book, I thought I would get just reams of these things. I would be getting these constantly. And I certainly do hear from people now and then, especially when I'm talking with people in person. Everyone has a story. Oh, this neighbor of mine has a dog that, licks its parakeet or whatever. But it really didn't. I didn't necessarily collect a lot of stories just kind of automatically that way. But I should put that call out there because I probably could make my life a lot easier if people were just sending them to me.
I can imagine. I mean, yeah, because my work, I obviously work with animals as well. And when I tell people what I do, and they're like, "Oh, well, you ought to get to know my dog or my cat, or you think yours is bad." Oh my! So I figured all these war stories would make it pretty easy for you to collect the tens of thousands of different stories that were out there.
Yeah, there are. And I should say, I do certainly have a lot of people telling me their stories. It's just that got to have great pictures. These books really are very, photo friendly. They're lovely pictures that we get from all kinds of sources. And so if a story, no matter how great a story is, if there are no pictures to prove it, it isn't selected for the final book. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyone out there who has a great story to share, please take pictures.
There you go.
High quality.
That's right. Get your stories in line. Take a great photo. Hire somebody if you need to, so you can get in one of Jennifer's great books. Now, let me ask you about, obviously, these stories that you get, these companion stories. You've got dogs that are taking care of little parakeets and, dogs that swim with dolphins. Are there any of them that still, to date, will, even for this book, that just amaze you? Or has it become like, oh, well, okay, that doesn't surprise me? Or each of them like, oh my gosh, I can't believe a dog would befriend a certain type of animal?
Right. I think I definitely am less shocked and amazed than I was at the beginning, but there's still, when I talk to the people and really get the backstories on these relationships, there are always little tidbits that are just really remarkable. There's a story of a Belgian Malinois and an owl, and this is a dog that's, used often as a police dog. These are the dogs that are going to chase the thief down the street and knock him down, and I've had that incredible experience at a dog training facility of putting on the big puffy suit with the thick arm on it so that one of these dogs can attack me so I can feel what is it like, if you're a bad guy having a dog take you down. And so these are not sweet, friendly, hop in your lap puppy dogs. And yet this dog, this tiny little owl, a pygmy owl, is his best buddy. And his whole demeanor changes when he's around this animal. He's normally pretty grumpy with other people and with other animals. Besides the owner, he's good with the owner, of course. But it's amazing how, we don't really understand exactly why, but something about this little owl brings out a very compassionate and gentle side in this dog that could be very aggressive. And so those kinds of moments really still surprise me.
Yeah, I can imagine it. I know even today, reflecting back on what I do with animals and work with animals, communicate with animals, I'm sort of in the same boat with you. I shouldn't be surprised, but each animal, is unique. They have their own unique personality. And even if you have an animal, I would guess, in this case, a dog, that has befriended, say, parakeets, the next person may have a whole different type of relationship. Their dog may befriend birds, but it may be different types of birds or different types of, a type of a relationship. So I can imagine each one has to be very unique.
Yeah. And it's great fun, I think, just to see these personalities of these animals and how different they really are. I wouldn't have really thought necessarily about owls having personalities. I mean, I might think that, but I think, the general public might not think so much about that. And to see, these animals come together and these little personalities come out and funny little behaviors and, a dog licking the bird's foot, trying to heal it after it had an injury. There's something really warming about that and just fascinating, really, to observe these behaviors.
Yeah, it really is. Now, I have to ask about your own menagerie that you have there.
Yeah.
Now, you have 3 dogs, and you have a plethora of snakes, geckos, and little critters. Now, tell us about how did you get quite the variety of animals, and then how do their relationships work? Do the dogs pay any special attention to the snakes and geckos, or is it like, as long as they don't eat my food, I'm okay?
Or do we keep them separate? Yeah. Yes, we have these 3 dogs, and we have become very interested in these Asian breeds that are kind of I never have the right word for it. I hate to say primitive breeds, but the breeds that have been less sort of messed with genetically, from compared with the Chihuahuas and of the world, but
right.
Harder to train, a little trickier with small animals. They're definitely have a wilder streak in them, and so they keep us very, very busy, keep us on our toes, and we don't really let them get close to the reptiles for the most part. But yeah, the gecko thing sort of happened. My husband got me. I kind of wanted to have one crested gecko. I thought it'd be nice to have one little buddy, and he brought me a harem of 3 females and a male home from a reptile show, and something crazy happens when you put those guys together.
Wonder what that
suddenly
is.
I had a lot of eggs, and I just didn't have the heart to not let these eggs hatch, so I had a little incubator, and pretty soon I had a lot of baby geckos, and it just kept going on and on from there. So I have removed the male from the female tank, so now they're separate, but in the process of before I did that, we ended up with quite a few geckos, which I've been giving them to schools and, kids in the neighborhood who want to have a pet and, get used to handling a reptile. They're good animals for that kind of thing. So they're fun. And then the snakes, my husband, that's really sort of his thing, but I also enjoy the pythons. And we did have a dog, actually, that had what we called her snake bark, because every once in a while, a snake would escape its tank, usually a human error that allowed that, but we would have it, and they never really went far, but they would be somewhere in the house. They'd find a warm place. And this dog would find the snake, and rather than hurt it or bite it or do anything, she would kind of get down in that play position, and she had a bark that was this extra sharp, high-pitched bark. And we realized after a while that was the bark she used whenever she found a snake. It was just this really strange thing, and she never hurt the animal, but we would know, Ty found the snake. So we really kind of relied on her those times that happened, that she was going to discover it and let us know that she'd found it. So that was kind of an interesting thing to witness.
Yeah. And so she does this when, whether it's a wild snake or just your snakes or both.
Well, we fortunately haven't had any wild snakes sneak into the house that I know of. But at one point there was actually, not to get into too many long stories about escaped snakes, but we did have one that got all the way out and was in a tree next to our house. This doesn't say much about my husband's ability to close the tanks, I think. But and here's this orange and black. This was a milk snake. Definitely does not belong in the wild in Maryland. And we heard our dog doing the snake bark. And sure enough, she was outside barking up at the tree where the snake was coiled. And I don't think we would have found it if she hadn't done that. So that was quite lucky that she spotted it.
There you go. She's a regular snake charmer, so it works out well.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more with Jennifer Holland. And I want to talk to Jennifer about her writing in general, her writing styles, and how all this comes about. So everybody hang tight and you can learn from the master herself, Jennifer Holland. So you're listening to Animal Rights Show on Pet Life Radio.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Retrievers, Labradors, Goldens are the main breeds that come through our door, but we'll train anything with 4 legs and a tail. My husband and I own a kennel. We train hunting dogs and also have a boarding and grooming business. Our dogs, they're athletes, and we feed a very quality food. You can't get enzymes in a commercial dog food because they cook it at such a high heat that so much important nutrition is just cooked right out of it. But adding Dynovite to their diet has every single dog in my kennel looking better than they have ever looked.
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
The omega-3 fatty acids.
Flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa.
The digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
Dynovite
is nutrition.
If you want the dog to be healthy, you got to feed it something healthy.
DINOVITE. Dinovite's the bomb.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
Dinovite for life.
DINOVITE.com.
Hi, this is Tim Link, animal communicator and pet expert and host of Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have you ever wanted to know what your pet is really thinking? Do you want to find out if they truly understand what you're trying to tell them? Ever wish you could build a better understanding and closer relationship with your pet? Well, now you can. Learning to Communicate with Animals is a 4-part on-demand workshop. In the workshop, you'll learn the essential techniques that are necessary to communicate with animals, including what is animal communication, breathing correctly to achieve the perfect state to communicate with your animals at a deeper level, using guided meditation exercises as a method to communicate with animals, and how to send and receive information from your animals. So if you're wanting to learn how to communicate and connect with your animals at a deeper level, visit PetLifeRadio.com/workshop and purchase and download Learning to Communicate with Animals. You'll be glad you did.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Here talking to author Jennifer Holland about her latest book, Unlikely Friendships, the dog's version. 37 stories of canine compassion and courage. Now, before the break, I sort of put a tidbit out there that we want to get serious about writing here all of a sudden. But I always like to talk about, talk to authors and get their feel, because obviously you've written, as you said, you've written for National Geographic, New York Times, NPR, Discovery Channel. So this is, you've been out there in some serious publications, and your background, has been also in that science and natural history, which I don't know, no offense to those that are in science fields or history. I'm not sure how jovial or fun or cute pictures you get.
Right.
What's the balance there? How's it different? How do you keep people engaged when you're doing both? Science, natural history may not have fun little pictures. Tell us about the comparisons, maybe the differences that aren't so obvious, and then some maybe the things that you use to get your message across on both genres.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is an interesting line to walk, because as a science writer, when I'm writing the more serious stuff, I'm keeping in mind maybe a little bit different audience, but you still want it to be compelling. You still want people to enjoy it enough to keep reading. If it's too dry, too sciencey, and too heavy, you're going to lose a lot of general readers. And so it's about, I think, being, a little bit playful without losing credibility, without overdoing it. And writing these books has been fun for me because it allowed me to go a little bit farther in that direction, a little bit more playful. It's not heavy science in the books, although I try to, leave questions open about, why does this happen? What does this behavior tell us? In my introductions, I always get into a little bit of what we know about the science and what are people studying, what don't we know about what animals think and feel. And so I try to sneak some science in. I have little fact boxes usually in the stories with some interesting scientific tidbits as well. But when I'm writing for National Geographic, for example, there's definitely it's a little drier, but I try not to lose that fun, compelling style that keeps it moving. And one thing that helps that is that I'm interviewing interesting people who are excited to talk about their work usually. And the best thing of all is when I can actually go somewhere and spend time with the people and the animals in the wild, because then I'm writing from a place of experience. My senses have been out there. I've been listening and watching and smelling and maybe even touching. It's all those things come together and make the writing, I think, much, much better. So those are the things that I use to try to keep the articles from getting too dry and too stilted. And then again, the books have sort of let me be playful, but at the same time, I don't want to, go overboard with anthropomorphism. And I want people to remember that, we're learning about this. We don't know for sure. A dog smiling looks like it means something to us, but we don't really necessarily know exactly what's going on, different behaviors, different expressions. There's a lot that we still are learning about what animals are capable of and what their actions mean.
Yeah, and I think when you say each and every time that you're around animals, whether we're talking domestic or wild animals, there's always something new to be learned. I mean, whether you're talking about it really from a scientific standpoint or whether you're talking about it from a just a social standpoint.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can go out there, and of course, we're humans, so we always have expectations, and we have, our own baggage, or whatever you want to call it, our own knowledge base that is going to influence what we think we're seeing. But as you say, there's always something new, there's something surprising, and there's nothing better for me than being out there somewhere, observing animals in the wild doing what they do, and just thinking about how amazing it is, how incredible to be a part of that, and just how much we still really have to learn about the natural world.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So then let's go back to the books when we're talking about the unlikely friendships. I know this, I'll try to put this in a polite way because I know editors sometimes listen to the show, I should say, in publishing houses. But what is the trend here? Do you see this being something you're interested in continuing doing? And is there certain areas you're wanting to explore? And are your editors beating down the door saying, okay, you got to get a new one of these out every single year?
That's actually a good question as well. I think, from my perspective, I could continue to gather these kinds of stories. We could probably do an endless 10 shelves full of books of the same kinds of stories. I feel like there are so many great things about animals to write about that I would be really excited to take a step to the left or right and examine animals in a slightly different way. I'm thinking about some ideas and proposing them now, actually, of ways to get, similar format, similar idea of true stories, but maybe something a little more focused on the people-animal relationship. But I think, I think people love these unlikely friendship stories and hero stories with animals. And what's been so great about it is, for one thing, it's brought, I think, a lot of smiles, to people during times that have not been necessarily very happy around the world for lots of reasons. It's great messages for kids because it's all about, expanding your, being willing to be friends with those unlike yourself, being kind and gentle, having empathy, just thinking about something other than yourselves. And that's something I try to get across when I speak with the kids at schools. And so this positiveness that comes from these stories, I think, has been one reason they've been so popular. And certainly I wouldn't want to walk away from something that's making people happy and that's selling well and making my publisher happy as well. So I guess the answer is, in the short answer is, I'm not really sure yet if there will be another Unlikely, but there will definitely be more books from me, and animals will probably be the topic.
There you go. I like that. Well, let's tackle one more question from a timing standpoint. I highlighted it, I think, earlier. And first of all, let everybody know how they can find out more about you and your events and where they can meet and greet you and all those wonderful things.
Sure. So workman.com, the publishing house, has a page about me, and they, I believe, post information about where I'm going to be traveling. I also have a personal website, cuttlefishprose.com, kind of an odd name, and I am putting together actually another site now that will be focused just on the books, probably just under jenniferholland.com, something like that. But once that's up and running, I will link that to the Cuttlefish Prose site, and that will always have a list of where I'm going to be and when. And so those are probably the best ways right now to get that information. And some of the towns I'm visiting, they've been having nice articles in their local papers where I'm coming to visit, and gives information about what bookstore is having me and what schools I'll be visiting as well.
There you go. So we'll make sure we post those and get those out, because obviously leading into this, I mentioned a little bit earlier about your wonderful tour and how Workman's doing a great job getting you out there, but you're also keeping your bags packed at all times, it looks like. Your schedule for this book is basically publicity from September through the end of the year. Is that correct?
It certainly seems that way, yes. Luckily, I'm kind of go in chunks, so my publicist very kindly does like a week on, a week off, so I get to come home and take care of my dogs and my husband every once in a while. But yeah, I'm really traveling all through the fall and into December. I think my last stop in December is Miami, which seemed like a really good way to end the tour on a cold winter day, hopefully in sunshine. Hopefully all these storms will be gone by then. So it's a long tour, but it gives me a really great opportunity to talk to a lot of people, and I do enjoy that part of my job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that you can get out there. It's great that you have a publishing house that's willing to do that. How do you juggle these things, though? Because obviously you're still doing, this is a great part of your life, but I'm assuming you're still writing other articles as well as taking care of life in general and writing for the next book, these type of things. So what's your daily life? Are you very regimented, up at 4 o'clock in the morning writing 5,000 words, or are you like me and wait till a week before the deadline and get it out there?
Yeah, it varies. I tend to be the kind of person who's not very, I don't schedule everything down to the minute, but when the time comes that something is due, I do make my deadlines. And so actually at the moment I've had this week at home and I have 2 articles, both due pretty much by the end of this week, one for National Geographic and one for the Nature Conservancy. So I've been really, really, sitting in that chair and trying to get those things finished and turned around to a point where my editors are happy, and then I get back on the road on Sunday and head back out. So it's, sometimes there's a lot of butt in chair and typing away, and sometimes I have a nice, time where it's really just about the book, and I'm not thinking too much about, the next article until I get a call, and hopefully, I'm told, well, you're going to have to travel to the Solomon Islands, and you're going to have to write this fun article about these marine turtles, so you better pack again. So I'm not complaining. It's a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough life on that front. Well, I know for some writers, they thrive on having a lot of different oars in the water, things going on at one time, and some are a little bit more regimented and want to focus just on their one project or 2 projects at one time.
Right. And I think that is generally easier, just having one thing on your mind, because sometimes it all kind of starts to run together if you're working too many hours in a row on too many different things. But having a little fire under you isn't a bad thing. I do find that I do a lot of my best work when it is kind of down to the wire. So.
There you go. Well, you're doing a great job. I'm excited to see you. I unfortunately don't see Atlanta in our itinerary here but I'm going to keep an eye on it. Or maybe that's a shame.
That could change.
Hopefully everybody's listening. We can get you down this way. But I'm sure there's wonderful places. Definitely check out, see where Jennifer's going to be, visit her, see what's going on, tell her how great her books are. Once again, the latest book, Unlikely Friendships, Dogs version, 37 stories of canine compassion and courage. I'm sure it's available in every bookstore out there, your independent bookstores, your other big block brick and mortars, as well as go online to get your copy. You're going to love it. And with the holidays coming upon us, it's going to be a great book for everyone in the family. So Jennifer, once again, it's Jennifer Holland, Unlikely Friendships, the Dogs version, 37 stories of canine compassion and courage. Jennifer, wonderful talking to you again. Congratulations on putting another fine book out there, and we're going to look forward to seeing you again and talking to you again real soon.
Thank you so much. This is always fun to chat with you, so thanks for having me back on.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. Well, we're coming to the end of the show today. I want to thank everyone for listening to Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. I want to thank our producers and sponsors for making this show possible. If you have any questions, comments, ideas for the show, people you want to hear on the show, please drop me an email. You can email me at tim@petliferadio.com. That's tim@petliferadio.com. And I'll be glad to answer your questions, entertain your comments, and bring on the people you want to hear from most. So until next time, write a great story about the animals in your life. And who knows, you may be the next guest on Animal Rights on Pet Life Radio. Have a great day.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.